I just got back from Flint. Yeah, that Flint. I saw that dirty water with my own eyes. But not to my surprise, Governor Snyder, you're not much of a provider, 'cause Flint ain't fixed. Flint ain't fixed. Flint ain't fixed. Flint ain't fixed. The children up there are sick. The lead in the water is thick. Flint ain't fixed.
There's one thing that bothers me, and that, as a Negro yourself, why do you talk so bitterly against Martin Luther King and a lot of these other people of your race?
Well, let me tell you something. I don't put my race before I do my country. Being a Negro woman doesn't matter to me who is a Negro or who is a white person. If they are enemies of our country, then they are certainly my enemies too. Well, I say it is frightening, and it should be frightened to the entire American people that he has demanded $10 billion. And if he doesn't get it, then there may be riots this summer. Martin Luther King is nothing but a blackmailer, and he should be arrested for blackmailing because he certainly has blackmailed the United States government.
Umbrella. She's up, she's up. Whole nother level of shit you can't even understand.
What is good, my people? We are live back again with another episode of The Forecast. So, a while ago, I talked about this young brother, Quintonio Legrier, who is a mentally ill young brother who called 911 for help. But instead, the police showed up and shot and killed not only him, but his neighbor who was just opening the door for the cops, Bettie Jones, who was just an innocent bystander. But they both were shot and killed by Chicago police officer Robert Rialmo.
Thursday, the city's new police oversight agency, COPA, ruled the 2015 police shooting that killed Quintonio Legrier and Bettie Jones was unjustified. But key facts that led to that ruling were uncovered by CBS 2 just days after the shooting. So what took investigators so long to reach their conclusion? CBS 2's political reporter Derek Blakely takes a look.
19-year-old Quintonio Legrier took a swing at a Chicago cop with a baseball bat, and the officer shot him dead. That's the story Officer Robert Rialmo told investigators after the shooting 2 years ago, a story COPA now calls unbelievable.
They stated the obvious, that the officer that was involved is just not credible. In other words, he's a liar.
Rialmo claimed Legrier was 3 feet away when Legrier took a swing and Rialmo opened fire. But COPA concludes there is no credible evidence that Legrier ever swung the bat. And just 3 days after the shooting, an eyewitness told me Rialmo was 30 feet from Legrier.
The officer was standing here when he opened fire.
Yeah, these are 7 shots.
7 shots?
7, you know.
He wasn't at the door, he was right here.
Yeah, right here.
Firing from the sidewalk or parkway, the same conclusion that COPA reached.
The gunfire came from a substantial distance away, that no police officer's life was in danger at the time.
Again, COPA reached the same conclusion. A reasonable officer would not believe he was in danger of death or great bodily harm. So what took so long? The attorney representing Legrier's family says the old police watchdog, IPRA, simply dragged its feet. Now he's demanding action.
The superintendent should go to the police board asking for this man to be fired.
First, let me say this. I called the father, Antonio, today, and I said, on behalf of the law department, I apologize. We had, like I've talked to him before, met with him before, we had a good conversation, and he was incredibly gracious and understanding. And I want to say that At one level, I want to say about the law department, they acknowledged they were wrong immediately this morning and changed their position. Because it's, in my view, and I think they acknowledged it by changing it, that it was callous. For a family, specifically that's been through so much, to have actually made this decision that the law department made, they should know that a family that's gone through so much, was a mistake. It should never have been done in the first place. And the good news is they acknowledged it very quickly, and they got done with it. I had no knowledge they filed this case. It doesn't really matter. I called the father specifically while I didn't do it. I called the father, I said I apologized for it. We had a gracious conversation. And the good news is the law department acknowledged up front this morning they made a mistake and changed their position.
Police Superintendent Eddie Johnson has 90 days to make a decision, but the police board has the final say. Meantime, in light of the COPA report, Futris, who is the family's attorney, says the city should settle the civil lawsuit the Legreir family filed. That case is scheduled to go to trial in June.
So after this cop, Robert Rialmo, shot and killed this young brother, Quintonio Legrier, a mentally ill young brother who called the police himself for help, and an innocent woman who was just trying to open the door for the cop, the police or the DA didn't press charges, and they justified the shooting. Even though all of the evidence contradicted his story, he said he was forced to shoot because Quintonio Legrier was swinging a bat at him. But the shells from the bullets were on the sidewalk, and shows that he was on the sidewalk just shooting up the house. They even had an eyewitness that said that's what he did. Even the cop Robert Rialmo's partner testified he didn't see him swing a bat. And the reason that they took so long is so he wouldn't face criminal charges. So after he was cleared of charges, a police watch group finally decided to speak up and said the shooting wasn't justified. Now keep in mind, this is not for criminal charges, this is just for the civil part. And this watch group isn't asking for charges, they just asking that he be fired. But it was the black police chief in Chicago, Eddie Johnson, who was defending this cop, Robert Rialmo. Like the police chief said in the movie Crash, how do you think I became the police chief in a racist organization like the police? He had no other choice but to try to justify this shooting.
Breaking news, Police Superintendent Eddie Johnson believes an officer was justified in shooting and killing Quintonio Legrier and Bettie Jones in 2015. That is contrary to what COPA, the Civilian Office of Police Accountability, has ruled. CBS 2's Suzanne Lemignot joins us now with the latest. Suzanne.
Well, Erica, Superintendent Johnson does not believe Officer Robert Rialmo should have been fired and has sent a letter to COPA saying he disagrees with the agency's recommendation for a firing. In December of 2015, Officer Robert Rialmo shot 19-year-old Quintonio Legrier as he was holding a bat. 55-year-old Bettie Jones was standing near Legrier when she was shot. Rialmo was responding to a domestic call.
Need police assistance. Now what happened? My son is assistant. Police inside my bedroom doing it. He's got a baseball bat in his hand.
Superintendent Eddie Johnson had 90 days to respond to the Civilian Office of Police Accountability findings that Officer Rialmo should be fired. Johnson sent a letter to COPA last Thursday. It says in part, an investigation should not second-guess an officer's decisions by suggesting how COPA itself would have resolved the incident. Instead, an investigation must address the question of whether the officer, while making split-second decisions in tense, uncertain, and rapidly evolving circumstances, acted as another reasonable department member on the scene would have done.
You say Superintendent Johnson is seeing this through the eyes of a police officer.
You know, COPA's civilian investigators. Superintendent Johnson's been in the streets. He's been in these situations. He's dealing it with from a different perspective.
It's an officer's job to be somewhat aggressive in confronting violent people who are threatening harm to others. You have to remember that the police were there because Legreir's father, Quintonio Legreir's father, called the police.
Meantime, COPA confirms the letter was received but made no further comment. So what's next? Superintendent Johnson and COPA will meet and try to reach an agreement. If that doesn't happen, then it goes to the police board. Attorneys for the families are barred from commenting because a gag order, Erica, is in place.
So not only did this cop Robert Rialmo kill these people, then he turned around and sued Quintonio Legrier's estate for millions of dollars. Quintonio Legrier's family sued the police and sued the city, and during the civil trial, his family was granted $1 million. But during the civil trial, a jury also said they found Robert Rialmo was justified in shooting 2 people on a call that was meant for help. And despite all the evidence, this jury said the shooting was justified to prevent death or imminent bodily harm. The judge, Rena Marie Van Tine, an American Indian judge, posed a special interrogatory to the jury after the verdict, asking the jury if they thought lethal force was necessary. Now, I don't know if she was the judge or Robert Rialmo's lawyer, but when the jury said yes, they thought lethal force was necessary, the judge reversed the jury's decision and took away the $1 million from the family.
Extremely frustrating situation for the Legreir family when you think about it. 1 minute, they win their case, being awarded damages in the wrongful death lawsuit against Officer Robert Rialmo. The next, they get no money at all. A really shocking turn of events that left everyone speechless in the courtroom when this happened. The jury initially awarded the Legreir estate more than $1 million, significantly less than the original $12.5 million they had asked for. They are responding to evidence that suggested most of the 5 bullet wounds on Legreir's body were in the back, contradicting Rialmo's claim that Legreir came at him with a bat. Attorneys had also said Rialmo was too far away from Legreir when he opened fire to claim any imminent threat. But the twist came when Judge Rena Marie Van Tine learned the jury also signed a finding that Robert Rialmo feared for his life in the altercation and acted reasonably. The judge said that outweighed the initial verdict, rejecting the jury's award to the family. That means they get nothing out of this. Now, Robert Rialmo won his countersuit against the family. However, he will receive nothing as well, no money awarded to him.
Defense attorney said when Legreir came down the stairs, it happened so fast, and he had a baseball bat, and that baseball bat was a lethal weapon. Also killed that day, innocent bystander Bettie Jones. Her family has reached a tentative settlement with the city of $25 million. Now, moments ago, we heard from the foreman of the jury.
Over the last 8 days, we heard a lot of conflicting testimony, a lot of conflicting information from the expert witnesses. And, I'd say at the end of the day, it really came down to the physical evidence in this case.
This afternoon, Officer Robert Rialmo arrived in court, escorted by Cook County Sheriff's deputies. When Rialmo took the stand, attorney Bill Futris, representing the family of 19-year-old Quintonio Legrier, who Rialmo killed, started right off with pointed questions. Futris, you shot Quintonio Legrier. Rialmo, yes. Intentionally? Yes. You killed an innocent bystander? Yes. You sued the Legreir family? Yes. You are asking this jury to give you money for killing Quintonio Legrier. Despite his attorney's objections, the judge let the questioning go on. Rialmo answered yes. Earlier today, a forensic pathologist hired by the Legreir family testified Legreir's wounds by 5 shots were inconsistent with Rialmo's claim that the 19-year-old had raised a bat over his head menacingly. Dr. Judy Melanick also said the lack of gunpowder residue on Legreir's body indicated he was further away from Rialmo than the officer told investigators.
So this judge, Rena Marie Van Tine, said that the court finds that the special interrogatory governs the outcome of the case. And since they justified the shooting, she can reverse the $1 million given to the family. And the jury also ruled in favor of the Rialmo lawsuit. Even though he didn't get any money, all he gets is to walk away with killing 2 people and go right back on the force. Now, when things like this happen, we have to stop acting surprised. When it's been hundreds of years of the same thing, at some point, it's no surprise anymore. We have to stop acting like things are new. Like all of these people calling 911 on us. There's nothing new about it except for the coverage that it's getting. It's just getting caught on camera more. But we have to realize they have always called the police on us all the time. That's not new. We have to learn how to protect ourselves. Because they will always respond with urgency to stay in the position they're in. There's no point of arguing with them. There's no point of trying to convince them of anything. Why would we argue over our blood being shed? That in itself is disrespectful. They have no problem staying on code. And we have to stop acting shocked when something happens and respond with more urgency than they do. Otherwise, our blood will continue to be shed and there's nothing we can do about it. But if we put aside our tribal differences and put aside whatever beliefs we have, because I'm sure we can all agree we want our children to be protected and not only just survive in the future, but to be prosperous and in control of their own destiny. We're all we got, and we're the only ones that can change our circumstance.
It looks like a cheerful pre-Christmas crowd at Moretti's in Edison Park on December 17th. But then, from another security camera in the top right of your screen, a push and a punch result in a short bar fight. One of those involved in the backwards baseball hat is Chicago police officer Robert Rialmo, already under investigation for shooting and killing 19-year-old Quintonio Legrier and 55-year-old Bettie Jones during a police call a year before.
Was he the instigator in this fight?
No.
Rialmo's attorney Joel Brodsky says it began as a misunderstanding about a coat. It escalated, and Rialmo defended himself before leaving the bar. He questions why COPA, the agency responsible for investigating police misconduct, is even involved.
If they're turning, scuffle in a bar into a serious police misconduct issue, you got to wonder, what's going on here.
A COPA spokesperson says the agency got this case from Chicago police and routinely investigates all reports of officer misconduct. 12 days after this fight, the police board ruled Rialmo's 2015 shooting unjustified. Brodsky believes it's all related, directed by City Hall.
Politically trying to discredit Rialmo and paint him as a rogue, out-of-control officer or person in order to make sure that he gets fired.
Under investigation again. Robert Rialmo, cleared of killing 2 people, then charged and cleared in a bar fight, is involved in a new bar fight just this morning. Good evening. I'm Erica Sargent.
And I'm Rob Johnson. Tonight, Rialmo's attorney says it's not the officer's fault. CBS 2's Charlie DeMar live outside the Norwood Park bar where it all went down. Charlie.
Rob and Erica, good evening. And there are a number of cameras both inside and outside of Teaser's Bar here in Norwood Park. That's where Officer Rialmo was involved in that fight early this morning. And Rialmo's attorney saying that Rialmo did not instigate this fight. He didn't start it. Instead, he was the victim of an attack. Chicago police officer Robert Rialmo finds himself the target of a police investigation yet again. Rialmo was at Teaser's, a Norwood Park bar, just before closing around 4 a.m. Friday, when police say a verbal fight turned physical, spilling outside in front of this Mexican restaurant. But Rialmo's attorney says Rialmo is the victim, targeted by 2 gang members, saying in a statement in part, the gang members poured a beer on Rialmo after saying they recognized him as a police officer from TV. This scuffle comes less than a week after Rialmo's battery charges from last year were dismissed. The embattled officer seen on surveillance video throwing punches in a different Northwest Side restaurant. Last month, Rialmo's use of force was ruled justified when he shot and killed 19-year-old Quintonio Legrier, who was armed with a bat, and Bettie Jones in 2015. After Rialmo's most recent case, Rialmo was asked if he was unlucky to find himself in these situations.
I can't say I'm unlucky at all. I can say that I've been put in some bad situations that many guys wouldn't have been able to get out of safely. I feel that people have the wrong idea of myself.
And Rialmo's attorney adding tonight that Rialmo filed a police report himself, and he actually took a breathalyzer, reportedly blowing a 0.0. Now, no charges have been filed, but the Civilian Office of Police Accountability is investigating.
It's a female. She's wearing a green
Tell them I'll be
shirt,
here when they arrive, that I will be waiting for them to arrive.
A white
You can tell them her
short-sleeve
name is
dress,
Camilla Hudson. I have
she says
ID
her
and
name
will
is
share
Camilla
it.
Hudson. And it's probably spelled C-A-M-I-L-L-A-H.
You got it. Exactly, like the river.
Maury, M-O-R-R-Y. Matson, M-A-T-S-O-N. African American.
Black. No, I'm not African American. I'm black. Black isn't a bad word.
All right, thank you.
In Chicago now, a woman claims a CVS drugstore manager called police on her when she tried to redeem a coupon at his store. The woman, who is black, took out her phone and recorded their interaction. ABC's Janae Norman with that video tonight.
African American.
A CVS manager coming under fire, captured on cell phone video calling 911 on a black customer trying to use a coupon.
You can tell them her name is Camilla Hudson. I have ID and will share it.
The manager visibly shaking while making the call.
African American.
Black. No, I'm not African American. I'm black. Black isn't a bad word.
Camilla Hudson tells ABC News that she started recording shortly after she handed the manufacturer coupon to another CVS manager.
He goes, well, I can't accept this. So I said, okay, why can't you accept it? Because it looks fraudulent.
She says they never even scanned her coupon to see if it was real. Then the incident escalating. Manager Maury Matson calling 911.
And he says to me, you should probably leave because I called the police.
Police tell ABC they were informed a female was threatening staff and refusing to leave. The incident just the latest in a string of episodes caught on camera of white people calling the cops on black people for everyday activities, like these two black men arrested at Starbucks shortly after one of them tried to use the bathroom.
I don't take issue with them refusing the coupon. There's a way to do that.
And CVS has apologized to Hudson and says those two employees involved in the incident won't be working in the store pending the findings of their investigation. As for that manager who called police, he declined our request for comment.
Come on! Excuse you.
Get away from her.
You need to calm the fuck down right now. Yeah. Try that shit with me, I dare.
Yeah, I dare you.
Fucking dare.
I dare you to touch me.
How about you take your ass, get your shit, and get the fuck out of here? Because you are acting too damn fucking crazy right now.
Yeah.
You need to go. You need to go, or we're gonna call the fucking cops and have them remove you. You're sitting over here, you almost hit her. Do you realize that? Yeah. Well, you're sitting here calling people niggas and bitches, and you're throwing chairs and shit. Get your fucking mind.
Do it! Do it! Do it, boy!
You too.
Do it! Fucking do it, boy! Come on!
I wish you would.
Huh?
I wish you would.
I'm here.
No, you're acting fucking crazy.
Tell this guy to get away from me.
He was physically attacking her and he called her a nigger.
Get your shit and go. Sitting over here trying to throw chairs and you almost fucking hit her. You almost fucking hit her. Do you realize that?
He almost hit her in the head.
Okay, we're calling the police.
Come on!
Excuse you.
Get away from her.
A violent and racist rant caught on camera outside a West Hollywood grocery store.
Yeah, KCAL 9's Rachel Kim is live in West Hollywood right now outside Pavilions. And Rachel, you spoke to the woman who was the target of all this?
Yeah, Jeff and Susie, Angela Jefferson says she was minding her own business over here when suddenly a man sitting over here went off on her and lost control. Angela's thankful witnesses stepped in.
Come on! Excuse you.
Get away from her.
A recorded rampage outside the Pavilion store in West Hollywood.
We had like a pipe or something or a stick or something, and he was swinging it, he was hitting it on the table. He tried to hit me with it, but I, dodged him.
Angela Jefferson is the woman on the video. She says she was studying and listening to music around 2:30 Tuesday afternoon when the man sitting at the next table started saying derogatory things to her.
He was calling me the N-word.
Because you were acting too damn crazy right now.
He's calling me the B-word and stuff like that.
Angela says she asked him to stop, but he then smashed her belongings and threw a chair at her. Dulcinea Cercelli was inside the store having lunch and heard the commotion.
So I came out here and saw that he had broken a chair and was like trying to hit this woman in the head and saying the N-word to her. And so at that point, I started recording.
In the video, you see another witness come over to stop the man from attacking Angela. When the witness told him to leave, the man got angrier.
Do it, boy! You do it!
It was just so scary. He was armed and attacking two people, with metal rods.
Witnesses say the man was drunk.
Come on!
And left before sheriff's deputies arrived.
Thanks, you guys, for helping me. May God bless them.
Sheriff's deputies say if the man returns, does it again, and is caught, he will be arrested for drunk and disorderly conduct.
Hi. Permit Betty.
Huh?
We got another Permit Betty here. Everybody. Let's get her viral also.
We have gas, guys.
Let's get her viral also. Permit Betty.
Sorry guys, I have to ask for permits.
Yep, she sure does. She's got to mess with people that just trying to make a living.
Yeah, if you were trying to make a living here, you would never be able to walk on the sidewalks.
Yeah.
This is
Yep.
this way.
Yep.
Everybody can do business.
Let's let her go viral, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi everybody, I know.
There she goes.
I know compassion is all.
There she goes.
But we're just trying to make sure everybody has the opportunity.
Yeah, there she goes.
Venting.
Yes, Permit Patty. Let's figure out what company she's with. Oh, where's she going? Where's she going?
Working on. Andy told me.
No! Don't do that, y'all! Don't do that! 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 This is what you did, sir! This is what you want! No! This is what you want! This is what you want! What do you mean? What do you mean? This is what you want! This is what you want! This is what
Make a video of this bullshit. I'm sick of this going on. I'm tired of shit like this.
Watch the whole thing!
It's some bullshit. I'm sick of this shit.
Yo, always do, yo! Always do! I think this is beat the fuck up, always do!
Welcome back. Another controversial arrest has the city of Philadelphia in the spotlight. It was caught on camera near the zoo. Eyewitness News reporter Anita O shows us what happened.
Cell phone video making the rounds on social media shows Philadelphia police handcuffing a black teenager who was selling bottled water with friends by the zoo. It happened around 12:30 Thursday afternoon when a white security officer there reportedly flagged down police officers, and zoo officials say it's because the group made a threatening remark when she tried to disperse them.
She apparently said something to the effect of they were panhandling, may have been on and off the property.
So far, the video has amassed more than 160,000 views on Facebook, with many pointing to this as yet another instance nationally of a white individual calling authorities on a person of color. But zoo officials say the same group has caused problems in the past, soliciting from guests, throwing rocks at staff, and harassing another female security officer. Some of the teens are seen on video striking responding officers as they cite both a 14-year-old boy and a 53-year-old man with disorderly conduct.
He decides to intervene and actually approach and get in the faces of these police officers. Now that's wrong.
Police say that the boys claim they were part of the North Philly Aztecs championship football team, but the head coach there tells me that the boys seen in that video have never been part of the organization.
I mean, it's just very disheartening that you're using a well-known brand in order to do that.
Police Commissioner Richard Ross says while violations such as selling water without a permit fall under the purview of licenses and inspections, he understands the outrage when enforcement doesn't happen across the board.
Whether you like it or not, it's done all over the city. And so what we have an obligation to do is to be consistent about it.
A zoo spokeswoman added in a statement in part, quote, Philadelphia Zoo is an integral part of the city of Philadelphia and is proud of the diversity of the staff who work here and guests who visit.
Julie, Randy, it was an extraordinary show of mercy by Judge Jay Quam, handing down 10 years probation instead of prison time to the woman guilty of attempted murder for trying to hang the toddler, then running over two men with her car. All the victims survived, but under Minnesota sentencing guidelines, she was looking at nearly 13 years in prison.
Ragging him for blocks.
Former daycare provider Natalia Caria sobbed as the prosecutor ran through the details of what happened in November 2016.
She hung by his neck with a homemade noose in her basement of her daycare in Minneapolis. This case is about that little boy who very well could have taken his last breath and died in that basement.
Caria pleaded guilty to attempted murder and criminal vehicular operation for hanging the toddler, then running over two men before attempting suicide. Everyone survived. Natalian's attorney argues the cause was mental illness brought on by abuse.
This offense was the product of mental illness that was aggravated, if not wholly caused, by the abuse of Natalia's husband.
They provided the judge with recordings.
Why are you pushing me, Papa? I'm sure that I'll kill you right now. Okay? You stupid. Get out of here! Better listen to me, okay?
Through an interpreter, Caria apologized to the victims.
Please forgive me for everything that happened to the boy in that terrible day.
And asked the judge for probation.
Please help me to come back to my children.
The prosecution asked for nearly 13 years in prison.
The question isn't, well, if somebody has a mental illness, then they necessarily should not go to prison. The Department of Corrections is incredibly well equipped to handle the needs of the mentally ill.
This has been one of the hardest cases I've ever had.
Judge Quam chose to give Caria 10 years probation. And Judge Quam also handed down a 15-year stayed prison sentence. That means if Caria violates her probation, she could have to serve that prison term. She will be released either today or tomorrow from the Hennepin County Jail, and she will be a free woman.
All right, and we back on the forecast. So in Cali, our brother Colby Friday was shot 8 times, including once in the face, by Stockton Police. So let's see what led to the death of this brother Colby Friday and why he would get shot by the police.
Friends and family of Colby Friday, a Stockton father who was fatally shot by police last summer, gathered to commemorate the 1-year anniversary of his passing. And to bring attention to a wrongful death lawsuit filed this week against the Stockton Police Department and Officer David Wells, the officer who shot Friday. New tonight, CBS 13's Ansar Hassan joins us in the newsroom with the very latest. Ansar.
Yeah, Sharon, Colby Friday's mother described her son as a good man and a good father who put a premium on education, so much so that at today's gathering, they gave away 100 backpacks to needy kids. But they also reflected on Friday's death, demanding that the city of Stockton and the Stockton Police Department be held accountable.
You put the public in danger by firing so many shots that you literally shot across the street, you missed your target, and you put 2 apartments, 2 families in danger.
Friends and family began the day recreating the final minutes of Colby Friday's life, who 1 year ago was fatally shot by a Stockton police officer.
They hurt and killed and destroyed a brother, a father. We have family. We have a lot of family. And our family is truly still devastated.
Stockton police claim Friday is a known gang member. Last August, police confused Friday with another suspect. When they made contact, he took off running. Police say Friday was armed with a handgun and refused to comply with their orders. Officer David Wells fatally shot Friday, who turned out to be the wrong suspect.
Today I'm feeling sad because my son is gone and he was taken by the hands of Officer David Wells.
The family claims officials haven't been forthcoming with all the details in the case. So this week, they filed a federal lawsuit against the city, the police department, and Officer Wells.
So what they've done is they've kept all the evidence and not shared any of it. I don't believe anyone has even seen a police report.
By filing a federal lawsuit, attorneys will be able to surpass California's state law, which considers certain information confidential or private, such as interviews with Officer Wells.
What are you hiding? You know, what are you hiding? If we're doing something wrong, prove we're doing something wrong. What are you hiding?
Now, Sharon, we contacted Stockton PD. They said, quote, they cannot discuss pending litigation. We also reached out to Stockton City Attorney, but did not get a response.
So according to this police officer, David Wells, he saw Colby Friday walking into a store and he followed him in the store. He said Colby Friday fit the description and resembled a robbery suspect, which I'm guessing the description was a black male since we all look alike. But then they said they identified him as somebody who fit the description of a domestic violence suspect. So they confused him with two different people, and it turns out he wasn't either one of them. And it was a case of mistaken identity. But the police spokesman, Joe Silva, said the brother Colby Friday refused to comply with the officer's orders. And the cop David Wells said that when he saw him walking away, he was grabbing at his waistband and thought he had a gun. Which last I checked, you can have guns in America. But the cop David Wells claimed he yelled at him, "I know you have a gun, show me your hands." And then he said he saw the brother Colby Friday drop something on the ground, which turned out to be his cell phone. But when he tried to pick up his phone, the cop David Wells said, "Drop the gun," and then start shooting him. And hit him 8 times, including once in the face. And then he said he started life-saving measures until the paramedics got there, but he had already shot him in the face and it was too late. Then they said they did find a gun on the scene, but it was 30 yards away and it was on the other side of the gate, which would contradict the cop's story of him picking up the gun. But of course this cop forgot to turn on his body camera, so there's no footage, and that in itself is a violation. But even with all of that, the DA said the shooting was justified because he feared for his safety or the safety of others. So lethal force was justified and no charges are warranted.
The report released today by the San Joaquin County District Attorney says that Officer David Wells was justified under the circumstances when he shot and killed Colby Friday in August 2016. Tonight, I spoke with Colby's mother, who says that she believes this is yet another example of law enforcement protecting their own over the public. According to the report, Wells shot Friday 8 times, including once in the face in the parking lot of Peña's Market on Jamestown Street in Stockton. Wells mistook Friday for a domestic violence suspect who had a warrant out for his arrest. However, once Wells asked to talk with Friday, Friday walked away from him and eventually made it to the front of the store parking lot. There, he dropped something which Wells believed was a gun. When Friday grabbed for it and began to stand, Wells told him to drop the gun. Friday didn't stop, so Wells opened fire. A gun was later found at the scene. While the San Joaquin County District Attorney found Wells had a justifiable reason to use force, Friday's mother believes they're covering for the officer.
It was a mistaken identity, and even though you know that, with all the evidence, with all the witnesses, they still justify the assassination of Colby Friday.
Friday's family filed a lawsuit against the city and some of its leaders, claiming in part that Officer Wells did not turn on his body camera during the shooting, a violation of department policy.
There's no weapon within his reach, so he couldn't have been threatening the officer. There was a cell phone that was dropped, and he didn't have his body cam on. So he's not entitled to any presumption of anything.
The police department issued this statement that reads in part, "We believe this process is fair and impartial. This specific report confirmed that Colby Friday was armed with a firearm. We support the district attorney's office findings with this investigation." Right after the shooting, the police department placed Wells on 3 days paid administrative leave. He's been back on the force in the time since then. Reporting in Stockton, Tom Miller, KCRA 3 News.
And in a statement, San Joaquin County District Attorney Tori Salazar says, quote, "My office does not hesitate to hold law enforcement accountable for criminal behavior when the evidence supports it," but that was not the case in this situation.
Now, the police always say it's justified if they fear for their life or the life of somebody else. But if we just say, "Please don't kill us," they'll call us the terrorists. And the president may even say you're treasonous. And while they tell you it's wrong to protect yourself and who you love, they go above and beyond to protect themselves. And of course they had to criminalize this brother and say he was a known gang member, even though they mistook him for somebody else. How did they know who you are and mistake your identity? But the media didn't want to talk about this cop David Wells' history. He is the one who has killed somebody before. He was involved in another police shooting with the 16-year-old brother James Rivera.
Deon Smith Downs has had questions ever since her 16-year-old son, James Rivera, was shot 18 times by police during a carjacking in 2010. It was the district attorney's answer that shocked many people at an NAACP meeting in Stockton earlier this week.
Because we failed you. Plain and simple. We failed. We absolutely. And I can only do, all I can do is apologize to you, my friend, because we failed you. We didn't handle it right. We didn't do it right. And these last 7 years, we have tortured you. And I am sorry for your pain, and I'm sorry for your suffering, and I'm sorry.
Now District Attorney Tori Verber Salazar has agreed to meet with Smith Downs to give her some of the evidence she has been asking for years.
It hurted so bad that it took them 7 years to even acknowledge that they tortured me like that. James' personal property, dash cam, and the reports of what happened to him.
In a 2012 report, the district attorney's office said officers were justified in using deadly force. The report says Rivera led police on a chase in a stolen van. After he crashed that van in a garage door, the report says he put the van in reverse where officers were standing.
There's nothing wrong with detaining him, but you took his life.
Verber Salazar believes the system should have done more for the Rivera family. She says going forward, the DA's office will treat families with more dignity and respect.
These decisions.
Smith Downs has been critical of officer-involved shootings over the years. She says a protest march that blocked a Stockton street yesterday was for peace for all mankind.
Our intentions are not to bring any violence against the police.
Rivera's father says they want closure.
We push because we push hard for change, and we know that Stockton and other cities and other states need change too.
Years later, after the fact, the DA apologized to James Rivera family, but then turned around and did the same thing to Colby Friday's family. I guess in 10 years they'll release the evidence and apologize again. It took them 7 years after he was cleared of all charges to finally admit it was wrong and to actually share the evidence in the videos they had. They claimed his brother James Rivera was revving his engine with the cops standing behind his car and put their lives in danger. But now this cop David Wells has 2 bodies and he's still on the streets patrolling. He never even lost his job, let alone face criminal charges. In 2010, he killed the 16-year-old. In 2015, he was named the Italian Athletic Club Officer of the Year. And then in 2016, he catches another body. But they claimed his brother Colby Friday was the known gang member. But what bigger gang in America is it than the police? They stay on code to protect each other. Why would they ever punish themselves? We're happy even if they just admit they were wrong. And even then, those words don't mean anything because they turn around and do the same thing over and over. But why would they change? They build an empire off of our back. If you destroy racism and white supremacy, you destroy America. At some point, we have to realize we are all we got. And hoping they're just going to change on their own and stop doing what they're doing, we'll continue the cycle of them doing what they're doing. At some point, our lives have to be something worth standing up for.
Building community trust, a goal of the Stockton Police Department. Phase 1 has already taken place. All Stockton police officers have gone through justice training. Now, Police Chief Eric Jones is introducing a new phase.
The reconciliation phase is really about reaching out to communities and listening to our communities, especially those of color where we have the highest crime and lowest trust.
Jones just returned from Washington, D.C., where he served on a panel for building community trust.
Quite frankly, just acknowledging some very difficult things, such as the fact that police or law enforcement were responsible for enforcing slave codes, Jim Crow laws.
Chief Jones says it's important to have dialogue and talk with the community, but he says more will need to be done in order to build community trust.
Until we acknowledge that and give our community a sense of our commitment to actually change the way we do things, we're able to have better dialogue.
Chief Jones says the department will begin the new policing plan with forums specific to certain groups in Stockton neighborhoods, and the conversations will involve officers who deal with the community day in and day out. These forums will help decide if policing will change in Stockton.
One example we do acknowledge is that traditional zero-tolerance policing of communities of color can reduce crime, but for a brief period of time and at great cost to community trust.
Jones was just recognized for 21st century policing and training of other agencies in the state. He says he hopes to build Stockton to become the model for other cities.
For the second time this month, people protesting police violence are calling for greater transparency were kicked out of a Stockton City Council meeting. Police say about 30 protesters were yelling and causing a disturbance. Now, these protesters are calling for a federal investigation into the Stockton Police Department.
The protesters were met with police in riot gear after the mayor called a recess. CBS 13's Ansar Hassan is live from Stockton City Hall now with more. Ansar?
Yeah, Christina, we're learning that the Stockton Police Department has filed a report with the San Joaquin District Attorney's Office this morning based on what happened last night after demonstrators clashed with police over the issue of police violence. But this time, it was all caught on tape. It started out as a chance for public comment that erupted into a public protest.
There were verbal and physical altercations with the police department, and just by reviewing some of those video footage that's on social media, you can see exactly what the protesters were doing.
That video shows 20 Stockton police officers in riot gear trying to escort demonstrators out of Tuesday night's city council meeting.
I didn't sign up to run for mayor, so I got armed guards at my council meetings. It's ridiculous.
Several speakers, including mothers of 2 men killed by law enforcement, came to speak during the public comment portion of the council meeting.
They're in pain because some of their children have been killed, and they are wanting answers.
But when one activist wanted to speak on sanctuary cities, Mayor Tubbs told him to wait and to speak on the topic when the issue came up later on the agenda. The speaker refused, so Mayor Tubbs called a recess. That's when the crowd started to chant in protest, forcing a response from police. The city says it was necessary to protect those in attendance.
It wasn't a particularly good meeting to attend, and it didn't really feel safe, and so it was a little intimidating.
But as the cops asked people to leave, the confrontation escalated, and that's raising concerns with groups like the NAACP. They say the community has the right to get answers on fatal police shootings. The NAACP admits that some in attendance were disruptive, yet they say the police seemed ready for a fight.
I don't like it when the police come in wearing riot masks and all of this kind of stuff, because I believe that escalates the problem.
And that escalation has raised some concerns with many people in the community. Now, we are learning that later on tonight there's a rally in support of Stockton Police. That'll begin at 6:30 at Stockton Police headquarters.
We got them playing football. What you say?
Oh, now they want Snickers and shit.
What? You got the football.
That's crazy.
How old they gotta be before you shoot them, before you play ball?
Hey, the wrong, this is so wrong right
Hold
here.
on.
Look, this is so wrong. The reason why I say this is wrong.
How old they gotta be before you kill them, Wells?
Yeah.
Before you send a few shots at them.
Yeah.
He must not be a target yet.
My ticket is better than my sticker is better than your ball.
Yeah, no. He playing stupid. He playing stupid right here like he don't hear me.
No, the thing is though, when that kid turns 15,
he'll be a
he's
target.
very liable to get arrested by one of these cops.
Or killed.
Or even killed.
But he playing stupid.
But they're all cool when they're little though, but when they're black and they're old,
yeah.
When they get a little older and a little blacker, you will be just like the rest of the niggas out here.
Go ahead. I wonder how old them little black kids gotta be before they become a criminal. That's a statistic.
Hey, when this kid turns 15, there won't be no more balls thrown. It's gonna be like a gunshot fight or a taser at him or something. Let's see how you feel in like 10 more years.
Hey, look. Man, he putting the football away.
Put it away. How old does this kid gotta be for him to be a target, Wells? At least 14 or 15, I'm thinking, right?
So this is brief business. So you get a question, you can wait.
Okay, well I'm gonna give you your space.
No, we can stay right here. Stay right here.
I'm gonna give you your space, buddy.
Find anything else? You didn't find nothing else?
Excuse me?
You didn't find nothing?
Did you find anything like stuff? Did I really a whole bunch of dope earlier? You guys weren't here earlier? You guys missed it.
What happened?
You gotta give me your number. I'll call you next time you guys get the whole scoop. Hey, don't.
He don't pay us. We do this for our rights. That's why. Because we know you're the killer of Colby Friday.
That's pretty sad for you to say that, actually.
Yeah, it's sad.
Yeah, you with that
And you also let that dog attack that little mental boy, James. I know you remember James. And Colby Friday. Nothing to say about that?
Attack that little James. Yeah.
Don't go killing innocent lives.
Next time, shoot the leg or something. Don't do no weird shit. Huh? Shoot the leg or something.
At least credit for that, but at least don't let him go attack no mental boys like you did to James. You're the killer of Colby Friday. If you weren't a police officer, he'd still be here today. Because that would have never happened. Walk of shame.
Well, a local gang prosecutor under fire for vulgar online attacks against immigrants and Congresswoman Maxine Waters. But will he lose his job? That prosecutor has now been placed on leave by the district attorney.
And the DA is speaking out about his post for the first time.
And CBS 2's Nicole Comstock has more from San Bernardino with his reaction and the response from community activists.
I was offended by the comments.
San Bernardino County District Attorney Mike Ramos announcing Monday that Deputy District Attorney Michael Sellium was placed on administrative leave. He is now under investigation for allegedly making a slew of racist comments on social media.
The San Bernardino County District Attorney's Office does not condone hate, discrimination, or incitement of violence.
The San Bernardino Sun reports Sellium posted several offensive comments on Facebook regarding immigrants, the victim of an officer-involved shooting, and Congresswoman Maxine Waters. In the post, which has since been taken down, Sellium writes, "Being a loudmouthed expletive in the ghetto, you would think someone would have shot this expletive by now."
So for us, that is fighting words. And that's why we're here to let him know we'll take this fight right to his doorstep.
Najee Ali is with Operation Hope, a community group working in underserved neighborhoods. He says this isn't just about race, but calling out right from wrong.
He's an equal opportunity racist, and we all should be concerned that this man has power over people's lives.
Ramos says the DA's office has no indication Sellium used bias in any of the cases he prosecuted, but will review any if necessary as part of this investigation.
We must insist on that. An unbiased prosecutor.
She just told you we're not with them.
We not with
These
who?
are my guests. I'm allowed to have guests in here just like
You were
everybody
allowed
else.
to have 2 guests per apartment.
Okay.
And that's 1 and 2.
That's everybody in here, right?
We're 1 and 2.
That's everybody else. That's
What about the children?
Because
we black, we can't swim in the pool.
Too,
You
right?
gotta leave. I don't have to. What I gotta leave for?
Rashida, don't even say
No,
nothing.
it's not.
You
Don't
have
say
to,
nothing. That's
listen,
not right.
Listen,
That's
stop
not right.
talking.
He's
You're not.
racist.
You don't have to go anywhere. You're not going
Give me
anywhere.
the racist crap.
You're very
You're the one
racist.
who's
You're not
breaking the rules.
How?
Because we swimming.
Rashida.
We're swimming and we black because we swimming.
Rashida, what do you keep talking for? Do not say nothing else to this man until I see 2 guests per everybody in here. We're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Turn your phone off.
No,
that's
I'm not
it.
turning my phone off.
But that's it. That's all. Them right there got 6 people.
You need to start. It's like 20 people to each person, and he's worrying about us and our black kids.
Exactly. But don't say nothing, yo. That's it. That's all. We're not with them. So what did you say, sweetie? Yeah. Can you talk to her? Because this is who you got the information.
I'm calling the police. He's calling the police because we're swimming in my sister's pool where she lives at. He's calling the police, and there's a million people. So which lie am I supposed to believe? It doesn't matter. My sister is allowed to have guests. You are a racist. You're a racist. You're racist. You can call me a racist. You're very racist. Don't call me a racist. You're a racist. You're not saying nothing to nobody else but us. Because we're black. Stop hollering. And then you're calling the cops because we want to swim?
This post is making the rounds on Facebook, already being shared thousands of times.
I think she's calling the police because he has on socks. Oh, let me zoom out. Socks.
Cam reporter says it shows her and her boyfriend being racially profiled at the pool at her Mud Island apartment.
She's walking off, making a phone call to whoever she needs to call. I haven't said anything crazy to her, but I did tell her I was not going to leave.
Reporter tells us apartment manager Erica Walker told the couple he needed to either take off his socks or leave.
And she was like, well, I'm the property manager, and she pointed at the rules. The rules say proper pool attire. It doesn't specify what proper pool attire is. So she's basically saying no hats, no shirts, no socks. We have two men who are her friends sitting right here in hats, two hats. We have a man over here sitting in the hat. A gentleman, he had on black Adidas basketball shorts.
In the video, Walker defends herself.
You asked me if you could wear a hat out here, and I said yes, as long as you're not dunking it in the water.
But Porter believes they were singled out because of their skin color.
It does look funny. It's 25, 30 plus white people out here, and you haven't said it. You're partying with them. You're partying with them. But when we come, it's an issue.
And she wants Walker to be held accountable.
You call the police on me. They could have went a whole other way. We've seen that. And I didn't have anything to say to her. She was very apologetic. I will say that. But at this point, I don't want an apology. You've embarrassed me.
Trilogy Real Estate Group confirmed it is investigating, telling us, quote, Riverside Apartments takes Miss Porter's allegations very seriously. We do not support discrimination of any kind.
We got another police officer after I showed her my key and walked up here and tried to kick me out of my own goddamn pool. I pay $1,600 in rent. I don't know her, and she's asking where I live. The question that you asked me was, do I live here? I said yes. Then you asked me what my address was. I showed you my key. What more of a conversation needs to be held? Seriously, what more of a conversation do I need to?
I had a whole bunch of people around.
But I'm saying.
You need to answer her question.
I did answer her question. I did. I told. Why do I need to give this lady who I don't know my address? If you want me. Why do I have to leave my pool she don't live here? Do you live here?
There is a sign that says that I can ask for anybody to leave.
But for what? I showed you my key. I showed you my key. You gonna take my key out of my hand now? All right, well, you're gonna give me another one.
Videos like this have gone viral across the country. Possible racial profiling at pools and parks.
Now a man says it happened to him here in Indianapolis at the river crossing at Keystone Apartments. He shared his story with RTV6's Erica Fly.
Because I showed her my key. She didn't have to come over here.
What do you think is behind it?
Honestly, I don't want to jump to racism. I don't want to say that she just pointed me out because I'm the only black dude in the pool, but that was the case.
Shane Holland recorded this video on his cell phone. He believes he's possibly a victim of racial profiling.
I feel threatened. Honestly, I don't feel like I'm...
He says he was at his apartment complex pool last Friday at River Crossing Apartments when he was confronted by a person requesting that he leave.
She didn't introduce herself. She didn't say hello. She says, do you live here? And I'm like, yes, I live here. I wouldn't be here if I didn't live here. She says, where do you live? And I'm like, well, I live over there. But if you're asking me for my address, I don't feel comfortable giving you my entire address without knowing who you are.
He says he later learned the woman was an off-duty police officer. He says he showed her his key fob to get into the pool, proving he lived there. And he says the officer grabbed it out of his hand.
I just showed you my key. I just showed you my key. I showed you my key. I showed you my key. You're going to take my key out of my hand now? All right, well,
He says the property manager came out also asking him to leave. And he says she knows him and has even heard on the video calling him by name.
showing that we have some type of rapport, showing that I am a resident, which in my opinion should have ended the conversation.
Shane says he wants an apology from the apartment owners and the officer.
If you need to, have somebody make sure that it's safe and there's not too many, people that don't live at the pool, I don't mind that. But just let me know that, and I don't think that they did that, and I think that could have solved it.
Our Erica Fly with that report. Now, Shane says the complex has a policy limiting pool access to 2 residents and guests. RTV6 left a message with the property management company asking for a statement about the incident. We are waiting to hear back. We also reached out to Metro Police, and they said they have not received a complaint about the incident and would have no additional comments. Shane tells us he plans to file a complaint tomorrow.
It is a road rage incident caught on cell phone video that has gone viral. In it, you see a white woman using foul language and making obscene hand gestures. Then, she drops the N-word.
F-U, F-U, N-word.
It actually made me upset. Like, if anybody has seen the video, I was kind of shocked that she went along and said that.
Marshante Ferris was in the passenger seat recording the video. Her boyfriend, Shamik Shepard, was behind the wheel. The incident happened Monday at around 10 a.m. on eastbound Interstate 80 freeway. Ferris picks it up from there.
And as we were leaving from Richmond to go through Emeryville to get back to Oakland, she just started tripping.
Shamik Shepard says that he was driving in the carpool lane when it happened. When did you first notice that there was a problem with the driving?
So I switched lanes, and then I just seen her speed up from the rearview mirror. And I see her swerving to the next lane, so she's slamming on her brakes, that could cause an accident or something. I tried to switch the lane, try to get away from her, and she tried to swerve the lane to cut me off again. So I'm like, wow, so I switched back into the other lane, and then now we're on the side of each other, and then she just started screaming at me out the side of her window, started screaming out, you feel me, racial slurs and stuff like that.
Marshante Ferris tweeted the video from her @OGTay_ account. In the first 2 days, it has been viewed more than 130,000 times. The tweet included the license plate number of the vehicle. It didn't take long for the Twitterverse to identify the woman behind the wheel. Crown 4 has learned that she was an employee at a major investment bank and financial services company with offices in the Bay Area. A representative from that company told me the behavior reflected in the video is completely inconsistent with our values, and the individual involved is no longer employed by the firm.
I just wanted to kind of post the video to hopefully make it go viral so that we can set an example, it's not okay for people to do stuff like that or for people to treat people like that just because of their skin color. And I do think that she should be charged at least with something, she could have killed us.
The couple made an official report with the California Highway Patrol. The incident is currently under investigation.
We at the Residence Inn. This lady gonna try to tell me I can't film. She's a racist.
Hello, I am not a racist.
She's a racist. She's trying to tell me I'm scaring the guests.
This gentleman is wearing a state prison.
She is a racist. This is a costume. You are a racist. You are a racist. This is a costume. I'm here to do a comedy show. You are a racist.
Sir.
What's the name of this? What's the name of this hotel? She is a racist. She's trying to tell me I'm scaring the people and I'm filming a video. She is a racist. Come here, racist. No, you is a racist. Because I'm black and I got on a state uniform, I'm shooting a video. She is a racist. This woman is a racist. Straight racist. She's trying to tell me I'm scaring people when I got on this uniform and I'm just shooting a video. Guard! Racist. Come on, I'm following her. She's a racist. Straight racist. She don't even know who she's talking to. Racist. You know who she's talking to. Racist.
All right, and we back on the forecast, and I want to say RIP to Quintonio Legrier, Bettie Jones, the brother Colby Friday, and James Rivera. We do have to respond with urgency, more urgency than they do, but we have to calm down and not overreact to all of these situations that we are seeing on camera. We have to stop being surprised. This is not new. In fact, this is probably the best it's ever been for us in America. Our ancestors had to go through so much for us to even get in this position. But we can't get comfortable like it's over, because the war has never stopped on our people. We are still in their societies, eating their food, living our lives based off their economy, all while they capitalize off of our culture. and they stay on code to maintain this system. But we have to stay on code for us to destroy this system and build our own system. But we're too busy with the gender wars and fighting over religion and beliefs. The one thing the dominant society has learned to do is put aside their tribalisms when it comes to us. They still have their infighting, but they know how to put aside their tribal differences. We have to learn how to put aside ours. But as always, man, we have got to start standing for something, or we're going to keep falling for anything.